Part 168. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1671. Several doctors, including Feng Qingxiu, naturally obeyed the order and had to go early or late. They had no objection. When they heard about taking a boat, several doctors who had never been on a boat were very excited. Of course, this does not include Feng Qingxiu. Hearing their responses one after another, Lu Zhenhua's dark and rough face relaxed, his expression softened a little, and he led them to the arranged rooms, one for each person, and the bedding and hot water enamel basins were prepared in advance. Feng Qingxiu carried her luggage and walked into the room assigned to her. Lu Zhenhua and his guards knocked on the unlocked door. "Comrade Lu, please come in." Feng Qingxiu smiled politely, thinking that he didn't recognize her. After Lu Zhenhua came in, he took out a red checkered handkerchief bag from his pocket and handed it to Feng Qingxiu with surprised eyes. "Comrade Lu, what are you doing?" Although it was obvious that the handkerchief bag should be used by lesbians, Feng Qingxiu still did not reach out to take it. Lu Zhenhua didn't take it back, and just stretched out his hand. "I didn't know you were on the list of seconded military doctors in the military region during the meeting yesterday. Han Bing specially prepared some tickets that are common across the province, and you can use them when you get to the island. Take it, don't you want to? If you go to the cafeteria, you can go to a small restaurant and order whatever you want, or buy and cook your own food. There are grocery stores on the island, and there is no shortage of chicken, fish, meat, eggs, and vegetables. This is not the same city as the island where the fleet is stationed. Meet tickets here. I'm afraid I won't be able to use the candy and egg stamps. I called my old comrade and asked him to prepare them for you. You came all the way here, and Han Bing told me that I couldn't let you be wronged." Feng Qingxiu declined. "Both food and accommodation are in the army. How can I collect things from you and my sister-in-law? It's not convenient to cook without a pot or stove, so don't bother others to prepare meat tickets for me. Besides, listen to Comrade Ding, meaning, we may follow the fleet then." Lu Zhenhua twitched the corner of his mouth, but he couldn't even put on a proper smile for a long time. After all, he was used to being serious when leading troops. The fleet arranges frigates to patrol in turns, and you doctors will not be arranged on the same ship. I definitely don't have to float on the sea every day. I always have to spend some time on the island every month." Feng Qingxiu suddenly realized that the Navy was the same as the Army and Air Force in some respects. It made sense when she thought about it. She couldn't photograph the same group of soldiers performing tasks every day while the others stayed in the camp. "I brought food stamps, including military food stamps and national food stamps. Even if I stay on the island, I won't be hungry. It was a little rushed when we came out, but we didn't lack everything we needed to prepare. Besides, there is a lot of ready-made food in the space, and there are still many boxes of ham sausage, 8 treasure porridge and the like that have not been opened." Lu Zhenhua was not used to talking a lot face-to-face with lesbians. After thinking about it, he put the handkerchief on the bedside table and said, "This is a little thought from our family. Have a good rest. I will ask someone to bring food to your room." Feng Qingxiu grabbed the handkerchief and wanted to return it to him, but he had disappeared with the guard, as fast as a dog chasing a rabbit. Not long after, the waiter pushed a dining cart to deliver food to them one by one. Each person received a bowl of raw rice, a bowl of braised hairtail, a bowl of dried fish stir-fried with dried chili peppers, and a bowl of kelp soup. 2 meat dishes, full of oil and water. "I'll collect the bowls after you finish eating." I heard that he was a famous military doctor seconded from various units in the capital military region. The waiter's attitude was very good, and it was the intention of the army to cook 2 big dishes. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1672. Feng Qingxiu didn't like eating meat at night, so she just soaks some rice in kelp soup. The cooking skills are average, the soup has a bit of fishy smell, and it feels a bit gritty in the mouth. As for the rice and 2 meat dishes, she poured them into the lunchbox in the space before the waiter came to collect the bowls. The food was still hot. She would take it out and eat it when she didn't want to cook anymore. She would never waste a grain of food. After the waiter left, Feng Qingxiu locked the door and looked at the window again. No one could see in. Then she put on her pink floral cotton pajamas and took out her daily necessities from the space, including a foot bath and a face wash. Mix hot water with cold water in a basin, soak your feet comfortably, wash your face and dry it, and apply water, essence, lotion, and cream carefully, especially eye cream. When people are over 30, their metabolism decreases year by year, so anti-aging skincare products are necessary. If she hadn't insisted on using skincare products for more than 10 years, how could she be as beautiful as a flower in the eyes of others? No, most girls who are 17, 18, or 20 years old and have been exposed to the weather and the sun don't look as young as she does. After all, the conditions are limited. When I am particularly busy at work, I have to stay up late, miss meals on time, and have to take care of the children and do housework. Therefore, I can't maintain a dewy look, but I look 10 years younger than my real age, and there are no eyes. When fine lines appeared, Feng Qingxiu felt very beautiful and decided to continue to promote her own skincare. After taking good care of her face, Feng Qingxiu took out the essential oil to lighten stretch marks and obesity marks when no one was disturbing her. She might not have time when she is busy with work in the Navy. This brand is quite expensive. I bought it in Hong Kong for a third of the price, but now I have only used half of the bottle in front of me. She gave birth to 5 children in a row, leaving a lot of stretch marks on her body. After persisting for so many years, they finally faded away, but it is impossible to disappear. Fortunately, she has been exercising, her skin is smooth and firm, and her figure is maintained. Well, plus one white mask covers all the ugly spots, the stretch marks are not very conspicuous at first glance, and it doesn't seem to be a problem if I don't have to use essential oils in the future. Apply essential oil and massage it on the belly, thighs, buttocks, and other parts with stretch marks. Feng Qingxiu did not forget to take out a box of clam oil and apply it evenly on her hands and feet, trying to take good care of it from head to toe. After working for half an hour, Feng Qingxiu remembered the handkerchief she had put on the bed. As soon as I opened it, I found a thick stack of food stamps, as well as some industrial coupons and cloth stamps common across the province. I counted them carefully. My dear, the food stamps alone weighed 60 kilograms. They were all fine grain stamps with different denominations. First, there are dozens of industrial coupons, and the pieces of cloth coupons add up to about 11 feet, which is enough for Feng Qingxiu to make a new set of clothes. With the backing of space supplies, Feng Qingxiu didn't care about this stuff, but she cherished the Lu family's thoughts. The person who rescued Hanya was Chen Swiniang. At best, she remembered the identity of the child when she saw him, which relieved their family from the pain of finding the child. Over the years, the Lu family has sent many things to their family. Chen Swiniang lives in the capital. The repayment from the Lu family will be even greater. Feng Qingxiu rewrapped it and put it into the space. If the food in the canteen is not to your taste, these will definitely come in handy. This time she came in a hurry and didn't bring gifts to the people she had contact with in the southeast military region. In addition to Lu Zhenhua, Zhao Hanzi was also there, and 2 of Lu Jiang's comrades were in the South China Sea Fleet. Before leaving, Lu Jiang told her that she was in trouble. Just looking for them, Feng Qingxiu decided to wait until she settled down before buying things to visit. Lu Jiang had always contacted these 2 comrades himself. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1673. Following her future plans, Feng Qingxiu practiced calligraphy for an hour, fell asleep on time at 9 o'clock, and woke up at 5:30 the next day. She is used to going to bed early and getting up early, except for accidents at work and life. I brushed my teeth, washed my face, drank a glass of warm water, moved my hands and feet, and the pointer pointed to 6 o'clock. There was movement outside, but it was not from the guest house, but the sound of gatherings and slogans coming from outside. They are now located at the military region headquarters and have few troops. Most of the troops in the entire southeastern military region are distributed among the various armies. Each army is stationed in different places, all over the southeast. The place where Feng Qingxiu and the others went is the southwest corner of Guangdong. On the map, this location is located at the southernmost point of the continent. As a new arrival and an unfamiliar place, Feng Qingxiu did not go out for a run as usual. Instead, she rearranged her bags, wrapping her military coat and cotton-padded jacket and trousers separately, and then read a book until the waiter brought breakfast. A big bowl of fish-filled dumplings per person. It was not seasoned well but tasted delicious, but I couldn't tell what kind of fish it was. Although she lived in a free society in her previous life, Feng Qingxiu lived a simple life and rarely tasted a variety of seafood. Feng Qingxiu folded half the bowl while it was hot and put it into the space. The remaining half bowl was enough for her to eat. She usually had space material subsidies and there was no shortage of oil and water in her stomach. Naturally, she was not like her colleagues who still felt that it was not enough after eating. At 7:30, the headquarters sent someone to organize them to gather and send them to the boat. It was not Lu Zhenhua who came, but a guard named Yang and 4 drivers who came next to the commander. He drove 5 cars and had to go to the beach by boat. It was not at all what Lu Zhenhua said to take a boat to the island early in the morning, and the headquarters was far away. There is still a long way to go to the seaside, and a car got angry and stalled on the way. It refused to leave no matter what, and it took us until the afternoon to arrive at the pier. Feng Qingxiu somewhat understood why the army sent 5 vehicles. It was probably because of the major problem of breaking down. I had a meal at a state-owned restaurant at noon. I said it was a meal, but in fact the food was really good. Braised hairtail fish, steamed sea fish, seaweed and egg drop soup, stir-fried sausage with garlic sprouts, served with rice, but the taste was just average. They took the army ship to transport supplies and took them with them. A group of doctors didn't worry about it and let Xiao Yang make arrangements for them. Foreign enemies have assigned their own country's territory to them. The headquarters is very busy and there is really no way to spare 2 senior generals to take care of them. Yesterday it was Lu Zhenhua, and that was also to welcome the arrival of the 2 leaders. Xiao Yang said that he would send them to the island and complete the handover work with the stationed troops, so he also boarded the ship. It was the first time to take a boat, and it was still a big boat. Feng Qingxiu felt it was very fresh. After putting away her luggage, she went to the deck with Minglan and Tang Yan to enjoy the breeze and admire the sparkling waves on the sea. Her mind grew bigger with the wide sea. Although there is no severe cold in winter and no scorching heat in summer, the 12th lunar month is winter after all and there is a slight coolness. Navy uniforms are completely different from Army uniforms, but they look the same on guard duty as on the busy Navy, with the same dark skin and thick hands and feet. The sun was strong, and Feng Qingxiu was mentally calculating how many bottles of sunscreen there were in the space. When buying supplies, I first focused on food and clothing, and used the remaining money to buy books, machinery, cosmetics, and other indispensable items. The sunscreen costing less than 200 yuan a bottle seemed to only cost 10,000 yuan. I have been using it sparingly throughout the year and only apply it on my face in the hot summer when ultraviolet rays are strong and when I go out. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1674. Minglan broke Feng Qingxiu's thoughts. Dr. Feng, do you think the two countries will fight? Feng Qingxiu retracted her gaze from the sea, looked back at her, and saw the look on Tang Yan's face, which showed a bit of doubt and confusion about the war between the two countries. Yes, Feng Qingxiu said categorically, if they dare to invade our territory, we will beat the shit out of them. In an era when weapons and equipment cannot keep up, the country attaches great importance to border defense. What's more, now that we have atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs, we are more confident, and naturally the main task is to protect the country's territorial integrity. Minglan's eyes instantly burst with pride. Yes, I was beaten until I lost my armor. Although he is middle-aged, he still has the high spirits and fighting spirit of his youth. No wonder the sea looks like a storm is coming. Tang Yan looked into the distance. Feng Qingxiu also noticed that there were small frigates patrolling around, and there were also militiamen on fishing boats. Their boat was not the only one on the sea. The boat broke through the waves, and you could also see the fishing nets pulled up by the fishing boats. There were many fish in the nets. Lively and sparkling, as if covered with a light layer of gold. As the fishermen call it a day, the afterglow fades as the sun sets. The food on the boat is also very good, full of fish. The three female doctors slept in the same cabin at night, and all the bedding was available. Feng Qingxiu could only apply some cream on them casually, and found that Tang Yan and Minglan also brought cream. After washing their faces, they unscrewed the bottle of cream. One is for friendship and the other is for Yashuang. We have the conditions, so of course we should be kind to ourselves. Otherwise, the wind and sun will turn our faces into old tree bark, which is not good looking at all. Minglan is very cheerful, with a little childishness between her eyebrows. She doesn't look like she is over 40, and already a middle-aged woman who had given birth to 5 children took a large piece of Yashuang's snowflake cream and applied it on her face. She was very happy to apply it. Tang Yan smiled and said, the main reason is that it hurts when it is dry and cracked, and the beauty is secondary. It is natural to love beauty, especially among female compatriots. The reason why many people do not take care of themselves nowadays is simply because they do not have the conditions. Minglan glanced at Feng Qingxiu, who was combing her hair with a rosewood comb. Dr. Feng, how do you maintain your hair? I can't tell, you are over 30. Feng Qingxiu liked to hear people say that she looked young, so she smiled and said, maybe time has been kind to me. Tang Yan and Minglan couldn't help but laugh. Although Tang Yan, Minglan, and Feng Qingxiu are 13 or 12 years apart in age, because they all have a lot of children and work in the same industry, they can chat quite happily. I wonder if we will be assigned together, Minglan said while lying on the top bunk. Feng Qingxiu said calmly, follow the arrangements of the army. I don't think it is possible to arrange 7 or 8 people together. Tang Yan yawned, what's the rush? We'll find out when we get to the island. Yes, Minglan closed her eyes. The South China Sea Fleet was stationed in the port city, which was actually a peninsula surrounded by sea on 3 sides. When she got off the ship the next day, Feng Qingxiu saw an acquaintance. Xiaoun, who is the young Navy man standing guard on the military dock. If not Zhao Xiaoun? I haven't seen him for a few years, and he seems to be a different person. He has broad shoulders and long legs, handsome and tall, and his eyebrows are only 2 or 3 points similar to Zhao Yang. He doesn't look like Guo Xiuying, but looks a lot like Zhao Hanzi. Zhao Xiaoun also saw Feng Qingxiu standing out from the crowd, and his eyes widened instantly with shock on his face. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1675. After a few years of separation, they were both very excited to see each other again. However, Zhao Xiaoun, who abides by military discipline, was surprised and did not dare to leave his post without permission. He opened his mouth to say hello, and Feng Qingxiu only smiled at him and followed everyone to the jeeps that came to pick them up. A young officer with thick eyebrows and big eyes opened the car door. The leaders are busy preparing for war and deploying defenses. They have no time to spare. They cannot meet with the doctors anytime and anywhere. Please forgive me. But the accommodation of all comrades has been arranged. Yes, we can eat in the cafeteria. Everyone, stay here first and we will see how the army arranges it tomorrow. There is a shortage of doctors in the army. Feng Qingxiu was the youngest of the bunch of doctors and rarely spoke. However, Wu Zheng's student was very talkative and immediately said, "No problem, we will absolutely obey orders." The young officer grinned and showed his big white teeth. When Feng Qingxiu was in the guest house, she found information about this naval battle and knew clearly that there was no imminent breakout at this time as Lu Zhang said, and there was no record of the two old leaders visiting the southeast military region in person. While the two old leaders were on the plane, he also vowed to defend the country's territorial integrity, because our country was counter-attacking in self-defense, and the naval battle began in mid-January. This is recorded in the data, but South Vietnam has been harassing the border for a long time, and the current preparations for war do not seem strange. No matter in her previous life or in this life, she is really not good at the military field, and because many secrets in the army will not be leaked, she always feels confused about the battle situation. She always feels that the current situation of the South China Sea Fleet does not match the historical development. The main thing is to enter the defensive state in advance, and the atmosphere of storm is coming is very strong. Thinking of what Lu Zhang and the two old leaders said, and looking at the scene outside the car window, Feng Qingxiu secretly wondered, could it be that Lu Zhang was involved? Otherwise, why would he say that the two armies were about to break out? It shouldn't be. There are different military branches, one is in the south and the other is in the north. Can his hand reach in? If you think about it carefully, it is not surprising that history has changed. Soldiers like Lu Zhang who take it as their own duty to defend their homeland will definitely find ways to reduce the country's losses and prevent the invasion of foreign enemies if they know the direction of history. A sudden flash occurred in Feng Qingxiu's mind: Special Forces. Whether everyone in the Special Forces unit continues to train in the camp, and whether the veterans go out to perform missions. Because of the special nature of the military, Feng Qingxiu does not know the specific situation inside. Even though she is the military doctor in charge of the Special Forces unit, she knows one of the trainings of the Special Forces unit. It was just investigation, that is, gathering intelligence. She didn't believe that Lu Zhang only trained them but did not arrange for them to perform tasks. Rubbing her temples, Feng Qingxiu stopped thinking about it. Her head hurt from thinking about it. She was already busy enough, so she didn't have to worry about military trends. After all, the military was the only one with specialized skills, and she could just be responsible for saving lives and healing the wounded. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the group arrived at the camp and entered the dormitories arranged for them by the army, which were also hospital dormitories. Minglan and Tang Yan were in a room, but Feng Qingxiu was in a single room, according to their level. Although Feng Qingxiu is young, she enjoys the treatment of the main battalion level. Minglan and Tang Yan have not reached this level. They are currently enjoying the treatment of the deputy battalion level. In addition, there are only 3 lesbians in their line, and one of them must be alone. Stay. The dormitory was very tidy, and the bedding was neatly folded. Feng Qingxiu put down her luggage and breathed a sigh of relief. It's really nice to live alone in a room. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1676. After putting their luggage away, Xiao Yang and the young officer who picked them up came over to show them around the area, mainly where they could enter, where they couldn't go, where they could buy things, where they usually went to eat, etc. The campsite, family area, and fisherman's residential area are all clearly distinguished, and Feng Qingxiu remembers them all in his heart. During this period, they learned the name of the young officer. His name was Lin Tong. His rank was not low. He was a battalion commander or a captain on the patrol ship. He was currently in charge of patrol work and was temporarily pulled to receive them. Otherwise, the military medical department would definitely receive them. Along the way, Feng Qingxiu discovered that there were also army soldiers on the island. "Comrade Xiao Yang, do the troops have fish to eat every day?" Minglan asked enthusiastically after coming out of the canteen. "When there is no meat, fish is a good thing." She found that Feng Qingxiu especially likes to eat fish. She drank the seaweed soup with gusto. Even though braised pork was served along the way, she almost didn't use her chopsticks to eat the meat. Xiao Yang coughed, "Not really." Several doctors raised their eyebrows, but they see fish every day. Battalion Commander Lin Tonglin, who had thick eyebrows and big eyes, smiled and said, "The army has army regulations. Different levels have different meals. Generally, meals are given according to levels. You are all military doctors, and military doctors are also soldiers. You should understand this. But the hospitals, the canteen and the military canteen are not in the same department, so doctors and nurses can prepare meals at will. As long as it is cooked in the canteen, if the conditions are good, they will eat meat every time, and if the conditions are not good, they will have soup. This situation is not unheard of, but fish more than meat is a fact. After all, this place is surrounded by the sea on three sides." Everyone was smart and nodded to express their understanding, just like the workers of the aquatic products company who get fish tickets every month. In places not close to the sea or water, there is no sign of fish even during the holidays. Feng Qingxiu asked, "If I go to a grocery store to buy fish, do I still need a ticket?" Lin Tong raised his eyebrows. "You live in the dormitory of the hospital, and it's not in the family area. Do you want to cook?" "That's not true. I just want to walk around in my free time and buy some local specialties to send home. There are fresh fish and shrimps, and there will definitely be dry goods. Our army rarely sees these things. The person is thousands of miles away. My heart is concerned about my family." Lin Tong said, "There is a non-staple food service agency in the family area. You need a ticket to buy meat, but you don't need a ticket to buy fish. If the conditions are good, you can eat fish every day and eat meat every month. If the conditions are not good, you can't bear it even if you don't need a ticket buy a fish. The dry goods you mentioned are indeed for sale. There are all kinds of sea vegetables, fish, and shrimps, and the prices vary." Feng Qingxiu was very happy. Although her family could not eat fresh seafood, the dry food was also very good, such as kelp, seaweed, shrimp, scallops, isinglass, abalone, etc., which were very nutritious. Minglan immediately said, "Dr. Feng, when will you call me? His family is old and young, so it would be great to get some seafood to supplement their nutrition." Feng Qingxiu remembered Minglan saying that her children were living with her parents-in-law and husband, and the conditions at home were not as good as those in the army, so she smiled and nodded, "Okay, I have many elderly people and children, so I need to buy more." Lin Tong couldn't help but said, "That will have to wait for a while. There is now martial law in all areas of the sea, and mailing may be interrupted." Feng Qingxiu hurriedly said, "Don't worry, Battalion Commander Lin, we know how powerful we are and will not violate the rules. We came all the way here just to support the medical work here, and we will definitely not put personal matters above official matters." Minglan and others nodded. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1677. Lin Tong, Xiao Yang, and others had nothing to say and sent them back to their dormitory. When Lin Tong told them to go to the cafeteria on time for dinner in the evening, Xiao Yang told them that he would leave tomorrow and leave the rest to the army. Xiao Yang has already said this, and there are no surprises to anyone. Anyway, they just followed the army's arrangements on this trip and didn't worry about anything else. They thought that just like Lin Tong said, they would not be able to see the senior generals in the army, but just after dinner, they were received by the deputy commander and other senior cadres. The deputy commander is currently the highest-ranking military officer on the island. After a face-to-face meeting, Feng Qingxiu found out that the deputy commander was Wu Changzheng, the former commander Wu of the capital military region. Feng Qingxiu forgot whether she had met Wu Changzheng before, because she had met too many people in the past 10 years. Some people were deeply impressed, and some people's impressions were blurred. However, she went to the capital for a meeting in Luoyang. We had seen Wu Changzheng in a group photo. When Lu Zhang was coveted by Han Aguo, Wu Changzheng, Fan Ziohe, Zhou Sueshan, and others all favored Lu Zhang. Feng Qingxiu naturally kept it in mind. Deputy Commander Wu expressed his cordial condolences. The content was similar to what the two old leaders said on the plane. The difference was that he said he was very grateful for everyone's coming and providing medical reinforcements to the troops. In the end, Deputy Commander Wu kept Feng Qingxiu. Facing the surprised looks of other doctors and senior generals such as the Chief of Staff, Army Commander, and Political Commissar, Deputy Commander Wu said that an important task was assigned to Feng Qingxiu, and the doctors suppressed their doubts and left first. When I first saw the list, I thought I had made a mistake, Deputy Commander Wu said. Commander Li said in shock, "Comrade Wu, do you know him?" Deputy Commander Wu smiled and said, "Don't you know? Comrade Qingxiu is Comrade Lu Jiang's revolutionary comrade. Although he is young, his ability cannot be underestimated." Who drew up the order for the secondment of military doctors? He is very discerning. Of course it's the health department of the logistics department, Commander Li replied without thinking. After saying this, Commander Li's eyes suddenly lit up. "Are you from the army commander's family? I thought they had the same name." Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, "My name is not very common. As many people have said, frivolity is not a name that should be given to a person with a good background." Commander Li nodded and said, "That's true, that's true. Speaking of which, it was my negligence. I approved the secondment application from the logistics department and submitted it. I didn't pay attention to the name on it. I didn't even know the relationship between Comrade Qingxiu and Comrade Lu. I only knew everything. The people who are seconded are relatively powerful talents in the medical field. Comrade Qingxiu, I will have to trouble you next. The doctors here are not as skilled as those in the capital military region, so we can only second you to participate in the next medical work. This is our bounden duty, and we absolutely obey orders." After Feng Qingxiu finished speaking, she suddenly realized that the sentence seemed to be said by you and me. It had been said no less than 10 or 8 times, and it was no longer new. Although it was not new, Feng Qingxiu soon discovered that the leaders in front of her were extremely enthusiastic towards her. They were a bit too enthusiastic, and they said that if you need anything on the island, you can come to them, and they will help you solve it without hesitation. Deputy Commander Wu knew in his heart that they were in love with each other, and that the special forces trained by Lu Zhang had made achievements that were only known to a few cadres above the military level in the capital and southeast military region. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1678. Feng Qingxiu was so smart. Faced with such enthusiasm, she vaguely sensed that it might be Lu Jiang's relationship. This guy must have done something without knowing it. Just as he had guessed, he used the intelligence obtained by the special forces to know the enemy's actions in advance. Fortunately, he acted so worried when he received a transfer order. If he really did something, then this naval battle would not develop as recorded in history. Unfortunately, these are military secrets. While complaining about Lu Jiang's silence, Feng Qingxiu said to the leaders, "Thank you so much for your kindness. I will trouble you all when I encounter difficulties." She was not used to saying no politely and directly like ordinary people. Here, she was unfamiliar with the place. The navy and army were not in the same system. Lu Jiang was beyond his reach. She really encountered difficulties that she could not solve. Who would help her? It was also impossible to go directly to Lu Jiang's comrades whom he had never met or contacted. It's different when there are several leaders speaking in front of me. Back in the dormitory, Minglan and Tang Yan immediately asked her what mission she had received. In fact, they still wanted to find out Deputy Commander Wu's intention of leaving Feng Qingxiu alone and whether the mission was different from theirs. Although soldiers absolutely obey orders, some people are afraid of death and are not willing to go to the front line. Otherwise, how could this place have developed to the point of needing to second military doctors? Isn't it just a shortage of doctors? Whether they are active duty officers or soldiers or military doctors, there will be very few deserters. Minglan once worked in a hospital in the capital military region and often came into contact with all kinds of people. She knew very well that since the founding of the People's Republic of China, some of the children or partners of high-ranking cadres have taken the lead and shed blood for the country, but there are also a very small part who have not done anything at all. If you are willing to go, it will all depend on your connections and not being able to get to the front line when things come to pass. Not only that, deserters would also appear among ordinary soldiers. Minglan had seen it, and it really caused an uproar at that time. Feng Qingxiu didn't know what Minglan was thinking, so she smiled and replied, "There are 7 or 8 of us here, and the tasks must be different. It mainly depends on the arrangements for us by the health department of the logistics department." One sentence avoided the two people's questions. Minglan didn't think much. Tang Yan glanced at Feng Qingxiu, thought for a while, and suppressed the doubts in her heart. She guessed that Deputy Commander Wu might be Feng Qingxiu's old friend and might have other plans for her. After all, her husband was the leader of an army. The next day, Tang Yan felt worried. The army arranged for her and 3 male doctors to stay at the rear hospital, while the rest were arranged to go to the ship. Feng Qingxiu hunted submarines, Minglan went to the destroyer, and the others went to the patrol ship. Each ship had corresponding medical personnel, and the number was very small. Counting them, there were only a few people, because on a ship of several hundred tons there were less than 100 people in total. It's just that the ships sent out have not returned yet. The ships carrying out the next mission do not have to go to sea for the time being, but they need to be familiar with the work on the ship, so they who are waiting to go to sea go to the ship first. The doctors who stay behind in the hospital follow their instructions. Areas of expertise are assigned to various departments for employment. Feng Qingxiu was a little scared about working on a submarine hunt. However, she had checked the information and found that the task of hunting submarines was important. In the history of her previous life, there was a heroic ship and the heroes on the ship who died heroically in the sea. After looking at the submarine hunting number she was about to work on, Feng Qingxiu suddenly relaxed. Not the ship that was sacrificed. However, Feng Qingxiu still hopes that the ship that sacrificed in her previous life will not go the same way in this life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1679. While the ship was not at sea, Feng Qingxiu immediately went to familiarize herself with her working environment and met Political Commissar Tao, Battalion Commander Tong and the next 3 partners. They were all ordinary female medical soldiers who only came into contact with medical treatment knowledge and methods after joining the army. We need to get used to each other's coordination, but since it is not during working hours and Feng Qingxiu is new here, we put this matter aside for now. In her busy schedule, she took the time to call Lu Jiang. Lu Jiang told her to call back when she got there, but she forgot. Sure enough, after answering the phone, Lu Jiang's first sentence was to ask her if she had forgotten about him and the child. You have been gone for 4 or 5 days, are you familiar with the working environment? Feng Qingxiu felt a little guilty and coughed twice. Comrade Lu Jiang, military secrets will not be leaked. She had no idea how many things Lu Jiang had done, and she didn't tell Lu Jiang about her work. Lu Jiang was stunned when he heard this. Feng Qingxiu seized his paws and didn't give him a chance to speak. She asked like a barrage of questions, how is the family going after I leave? I'm not worried about the brothers and sisters Zibao and Fuebao. Have the triplets cried? Are you having trouble? Are you in good health? Are you being naughty? I won't have time to talk to you on the phone when I get busy. Lu Jiang smiled and answered every question of his wife seriously. Zibao and Fuebao are very well behaved and understand their mother's behavior of obeying orders. The 7-year-old twins are also sensible. Dun Dun does not make any noise. Zhuang and Erxiang are in trouble. One is looking for their mother everywhere, and the other seems to have broken free of the reins. Wild horses, lawless. Fu Bao and the triplets have almost never left their mother. On the contrary, Lu Jiang is busy with work and spends far less time with them than Feng Qingxiu. Therefore, like Zibao, they are very close to their mother, and Feng Qingxiu is the only one in the family. Xue can control them, especially Lu Erxiang. Even if he talks back to Lu Jiang, as old as Lu's father and Cheng Baoqiu, they are reluctant to discipline them hard. This resulted in the phenomenon that the children were well behaved and obedient when Feng Qingxiu was at home. When they left the house or were out of Feng Qingxiu's eyes, they all had their own things to do, which gave Lu Jiang a headache that almost exploded. Hearing him say that he couldn't control Lu Erxiang, Feng Qingxiu couldn't help but smile. What did he do that you can't control? Lu Jiang pinched the bridge of his nose, with a look of helplessness on his face. Does fighting with someone count? When you were at home, he was obedient. He was really obedient. He didn't cause much trouble. He would look for food when he came back from school. When you left, it seemed no one could control him anymore, so he took Dun Dun and Zhuang into a fight and beat the grandson of Deputy Commander Liu's family until his nose was bruised and his face was swollen. Feng Qingxiu asked curiously, what's the reason for the fight? In fact, when she was at home, Erxiang would also fight with people, but not many times, it was all trivial matters. Lu Jiang thought for a while. The other party snatched the sweet potato cake that Fu Bao brought to Bao Zhu to eat. Other people's family mainly eats coarse grains, supplemented by fine grains, but their family uses a combination of coarse and fine grains, with mostly fine grains. When Feng Qingxiu was at home, she would change her ways to cook food for her children whenever she had time. The orderly followed and learned a lot, and now Feng Qingxiu Shui was not at home, so it was a good time for him to show off his talents. He specially made sweet potato cakes with fresh sweet potatoes as snacks for the children. Fuebao and Beizu have always had a good relationship. They would share whatever delicious food they had with each other, and sweet potato cakes were no exception. Who knew they would be snatched and eaten by Lu Zhenqiu's grandson? Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 1680. After hearing the whole story, Feng Qingxiu said directly, if Erxiang beats him, he deserves it. Beizu was pitiful enough. Apart from Lu Zhenqiu's care, she couldn't get a trace of warmth in the Lu family. The children of the Lu family refused to let her go, grabbing every sweet potato cake and beating her up. It is estimated that Fiubeo was offended when the other party grabbed it. Their family often told their son that Fiubeo was the only girl and needed everyone's protection. Lu Zhang laughed. He had not forgotten that his wife had always tried to defeat her. Beating was often the best solution, because some people like to mess around and cannot listen to the truth. As long as nothing big happens at home that is difficult to solve, Zhang, don't forget about your family when you are busy. I'm not at home. As a father, you can't ignore them. When your children cry, comfort them. Tell them that I will bring them delicious food when I go back. There are a lot of dried seafood here. Feng Qingxiu did not ask Lu Zhang what he had done in the upcoming naval battle, nor did he elaborate on his current situation. First, it was a military secret, and second, many things could not be said on the phone because they would be easily leaked. Therefore, Lu Zhang could not tell his wife the latest news, so he could only say in a deep voice, "Please pay attention to safety, I will take care of everything." Feng Qingxiu realized, "Don't worry. The country's policy is that if the enemy does not move, we will not move until the enemy attacks us. We are now in the defensive stage." Over the past few months, Lu Zhang dispatched several groups of the best special forces such as Zhan Wuifeng and others to sneak into the enemy's side quietly, obtained a lot of useful intelligence, and took precautions in advance. Unbeknownst to Feng Qingxiu, the war situation had already undergone tremendous changes. In the following time, Lu Zhang paid attention to this naval battle all the time. As recorded in history, Vietnam ignored the statement of our Ministry of Foreign Affairs and unscrupulously invaded several islands in the Xisha Islands. However, we were well prepared and should have gone to sea. The fishing boats were not working at sea, and the militiamen did not rush to fight, so there were no casualties. Instead, the warships stationed on the island in advance fought back. Feng Qingxiu was on one of the hunting submarines and witnessed with her own eyes our encirclement, interception, and sank of the invading warships. Several islands did not fall directly into the hands of the enemy, even if the other side classified these islands as their territory. Middle. Historically, these islands fell into enemy hands and their flags were knocked down before being recaptured at a heavy cost. In this life, we made no sacrifices and only injured more than 20 people. In mid-January, everything settled. The counterattack in just one day left an unforgettable mark on Feng Qingxiu's life. After the war, the ships continued to patrol the sea to prevent enemy counterattacks. The country has also firmly controlled the core areas of the Parasil Islands, laying a solid foundation for the subsequent recovery of other islands. There are still many islands in the hands of the Vietnamese army, such as the Nan Cha Islands and the waters off the Xisha Islands. The United States went on the defensive, but Vietnam received support from the Soviet Union. Therefore, Sino-Soviet relations deteriorated even more. Lu Zhang, who was stationed in northern Hebei, was so busy that he did not even have time to go home for the Spring Festival. Feng Qingxiu also spends the New Year at sea. Although there was no Spring Festival atmosphere, the cooking squad cooked a lot of dishes, mostly fish and shrimp. During the patrol, when there was no fighting, the Navy soldiers and the cooking squad who were not on duty would go down the nets to catch fish as supplies. This is the saying that you have to rely on the mountain to eat, and you can rely on the water to eat the water.